Cool. Yeah, great to be here. I'll just start by sharing my screen and sort of diving into it. So yeah, this workshop, we're mostly going to be covering the ABV platform, which is for all of your generative AI application tracing needs and debugging needs. So kind of one of the challenges here is to integrate this sort of tracing into your application, and we've integrated directly with Story Protocol so that you can actually sort of log some of these traces onto the Story blockchain itself. So hopefully everyone can see my screen here, right? I'll kind of just walk everyone through like how to get set up on our platform. I've also created sort of two quick start repositories, depending on if you're using JavaScript or Python, which I will share the links to here. Is this? And then here is the Python. You can actually clone these as well if you don't want to follow the code examples, but this will give you a decent idea of how to get started. But let's first create a new account here. Let's call Story Protocol Buildathon, right? And then we have a test account here. So you can also sign up with Google directly. And so here, depending on whether you're in the EU or the US, you will have a data region that you want to choose. Since we're in the US, we're just going to leave this as is. And that will also impact when you relog in. We have an EU specific domain that you would log into, but we'll just click continue here and then get ourselves verified. Might take a sec for the verification email to send. Oh, there we go. Let's just get ourselves verified. Okay, great. We'll go there. And so this is the data region thing I was talking about. So if you selected United States, you want to keep that as United States. If you're in the EU, you want to select EU. So now we'll sign in. Right. So the first thing you'll want to do is you'll want to get started and create a new org here. Right, so we can go ahead and do that. Buildathon demo. Right, if you have teammates, you can invite them. You'll be able to manage your project together. And so this is where we sort of get into the tracing aspect, where those two GitHub repos will be really useful, right? So you'll want to create your API key so that you can go ahead and test it. And then sort of this will walk you through a demo example, right? You can choose which model you want to work with. Our SDK directly plugs. We have a proxy service that has access to all these models. You just need to provide the model name you want to use. We'll go with GPT-4. So now, depending on whether you're going to be primarily using JavaScript or Python, we have SDKs for both. You would follow the steps here, or like I said, the GitHubs sort of already have this set up. You can clone either of the repos there, right? And on my right, I have the Python repo already set up. So let's actually take this this secret key and set up a new environment variable. in there. So let's update our environment with the new secret key. Just copy this over. Okay, and now if I run this script, it should, we already have just a very simple call made to the LLM, and as soon as this as soon as our script ran, you can see that the key has been activated. Now, if you go in your dashboard, you'll see that a call has been made just through the gateway, and you can go through to the tracing here, and you'll see that there's a trace output from this, right? And this is just a really simple example. Like if you look at the test script, right? All we're really doing is just setting it hello ABV. I'm sure you guys will build a lot of crazy stuff here, and hopefully this will be, you guys will build some cool stuff on top of this. So now, sort of to get into how the story protocol ties into this, we have a connector where if you go to the connectors tab on the sidebar, you can activate your sort of story protocol integration. So anything that's outputted, we also have like a prompt management section. You can even like upload prompts on there and sort of mark it as intellectual property. Let's say you have a really secret sauce prompt that makes your application work, right? So now that this has been sort of activated, you can mark it as. Right now, we only sort of have two different things, right? We have the output itself from this command that we ran, and then we have the full trace itself. But all you would do is whatever you want to register, you can just hit the register button here. It'll take a sec. It'll run the transaction in the background. If I refresh it, there we go. And then you can see that your IP asset has been registered as a trace. So yeah, that's sort of the. Let's see. It takes a sec to load the metadata there. But yeah, that's sort of the main overview here. Any questions from chat? I'm not really seeing any questions. So this will also be recorded, so you can go back through it. The links are available, and here are some links to our docs as well. This is the. Is there a gas fee? Yeah, so we actually cover all of the gas fees, and everything is abstracted away, so you don't need to worry about any of the Web3 sort of integrations. We handle it all. Also, here are links to our docs as well. Okay, it looks like our IP details finally loaded. Is there a limit on file size? Yeah, that's a good question. So most of the traces, they won't be that large, right? So there isn't really any limit on like like how large the trace will be. It's mostly limited by like how large a trace or a prompt would be. So to that, no, there isn't really any limit on the file size. Cool. If there are no more questions, yeah, I guess I could leave you all to it.
Thank you very much, Sahir, for coming in and fighting those difficulties to come and demo here. Just quickly before we let you go, the bounty that ABV.dev is offering, what sorts of things would the team be excited to see being built using your tech? So there's opportunities, I'm sure, are limitless, but what would excite you to see being built?
Yeah, I mean, I think if there was a cool way that you guys could really like streamline, streamline getting some of your outputs as IP directly, that would be really cool, because I know like there's like a whole argument that like, does like what LLMs generate, can it actually be marked as IP? And I think that would be really, really cool to see like something unique that's outputted with the use of what we're building, right? So yeah, I would say that, and really fully utilizing some of the other features that we have around prompts. You can mark those as IP also, and really being able to test out like what prompts work well for you guys. Yeah, I'd say those are like some of the main practical use cases I can think of.
Cool. I'm excited to see what people end up building. All the information about the ABV.dev bounty and challenge requirements are on the hackathon page. So make sure you check that out. And if you have any questions, then we can get we can get to them at that point. But otherwise, thank you very much for coming in and delivering this demo. Sahir, I will let you go, and we will move on to the second demo of the session, which is from Rahul of Dune, who I'm going to invite up to the stage. So Rahul should be getting ready to join me now. Oh, yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. Cool. Let me share my screen here. And while I present, I won't be able to see the chat. So if someone has a question, just give me a shout. Cool. Okay. So my name is Rahul. I work in product here at Dune. Basically, the Dune Analytics platform kind of falls under my purview with our analytics, like quote unquote product suite. So just a quick little agenda. I'm just going to talk about Dune really quick, kind of explain really in a succinct way, like the problem we solve and some of the products we offer on that front, and then how we can actually use Dune. And I'll even show you guys a demo similar to kind of what you saw earlier today. So about Dune, basically, we're just here to make crypto data accessible, right? At the end of the day, we are have a bunch of people using us, trying to kind of share thoughts and understanding around analyzing different chains and data across projects. We've been kind of the source of truth for blockchain across 115 chains, 1.5 million data sets, 5 million queries, 180K dashboards. And kind of the problem we're solving here is, I think a lot of people, they know that the blockchain data is inaccessible. It's pretty hard to decode. It's fragmented across many chains and dApps, and it's constantly evolving and expanding. So it's really hard to keep tabs on. And to ensure to do so, you kind of have to index, decode, synthesize, and verify crypto data is pretty like expensive, complex, it's long, different chains, as you've probably noticed, have pretty incredibly different structures. And what we kind of do on the front is we simplify this for everyone, right? So we allow you to analyze this with SQL, give you ways to visualize and share the data so that you can kind of query anything on chain and have a really good idea of like sense of truth of your data. I kind of won't dive too deep into the raw, decoded, and curated, but the TLDRs for EVM chains, we have raw blockchain data, decoded data that's kind of prepped into projects and protocols, that's kind of ready for your dashboards and reports. And then curated data, so like NFT trades, prices.usd, DEX trades. These are all things that it's cross-chain data that allows you to kind of have a unique and easy understanding of data you want to query for projects or analyses, etc. So what we kind of offer for this product suite, we have a set of products here that kind of work together, right? Catalyst is something that's kind of for our chains. So it's literally what powers the rest of our products. So it's not as relevant to you, and same as data share, also not as relevant to everyone here, but it's something that allows you to kind of bring in our on-chain data directly with your like preferred data warehouse, right? But for the sake of this conversation, what we're going to focus on here is like our analytics hub and the API connectors, APIs and connectors. Our analytics hub is kind of what I think most people know Dune for. It's the hub that allows you to analyze on-chain data with Dune via a UI, query the data, create visualizations and dashboards, all that fun stuff to kind of share any analysis you do on your projects or chains itself. And then APIs and connectors allow you to do a lot of what's on the Analytics Hub, but bring it into your own stack, right? So if you're a developer here or have familiarity with APIs, you can use these to kind of bring them into your own tech stack, build your own apps, and power some of the things you do with Dune's data. So what I'm going to talk about here is with our Analytics Hub, I'll dive kind of deep into that. I won't go too deep into the Analytics API because our docs are pretty thorough and we actually just revamped them for the API section a day ago. So what I'll do is I'll share that in the chat after, and I'll touch on a few points on that API piece. So with Dune, specifically with Story, you can execute queries within our query editor, right? And I'll show a demo at the end, kind of walking through some of this so that everyone can piece everything together. But our EVM chains kind of offer the same set of tables, and that's kind of blocks, creation traces, logs, decoded traces, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll walk you through where you can find that, how you can access that and query it. But we could probably share this presentation after, and you guys can have these on hand. Once you query on Dune, what you can use those queries for is effectively creating charts, visualizations, counters, tables, and pivot tables. And once you create those visualizations from those queries, you're able to then like piece them together in like a dashboard, right? So this is what I think everyone on Dune kind of sees. It's these dashboards that folks are sharing that tell different stories or relay different analyses that people have done. And then I will talk about this as we go through it, but you can decode your own project's contracts so that you can easily query them via Dune's query editor. And I'll show you kind of how to do that and what that looks like. So let me hop over to this demo. Okay, so I'll start with showing you kind of the end result, right? So this is a dashboard that Data Hunters has created. And as you can see, it's on Storage Protocol, and it has all sorts of different visualizations and tables thrown in here with counters and tracking all sorts of various different things. So what we can do with this, basically, if I click into one of these, you'll see the underlying query. And what I actually want to show you is what this looks like to create a query. So if you're starting this whole process to eventually get to what is a dashboard here, you would start by going to create, you click a new query, and then you would type in whatever you want, right? So let's just do a basic one, story.transactions, limit 100. And before I run this, what I also want to show you is you can actually, if you can't remember what the tables are, etc., usually we'll have a way for you to query within the data explorer. Sorry, I gotta go to, if you go to raw blockchain data, you see all the chains that we have here that are under EVM, but Story's not accessible just yet. They haven't launched it completely, but what you can do is all these EVM tables are the same. So I'm just going to show you one from Sonic. You've got blocks, creation traces, logs decoded, all the tables that are available for these EVM chains, right? So when Story is actually available, one thing you can do is click this and it'll bring in that table name here so you can easily replace whatever you need. But for the sake of this example, we'll go with Story. We can run this query. Oops. Let me go back here. A second. Just make sure that there we go. Just run this to make sure I had it right. So it'll run this query, and what you'll see is kind of a table underneath that of the data that you're querying, right? So once you've done this, you can start to kind of create visualizations and do the things you need. How you would do that is basically, let me go back to one that's a little bit more fancier than this, so you can see you've written a big query of what you need. You have your table here. When you create your data or your visualization, you have a few to select from, right? You would just click new. You got bar chart, a bunch of different things over here. In this case, like I want a pie chart, right? And as you can see, this one's already created, but what you would do is you'd select pie chart, and then when you select it, you can adjust all of these things and labels down here, right? So these X columns, the weekday, you can see as I hover over it, it's in there. The average gas fees are also listed, et cetera, et cetera. So this is how you start to create your visualizations. There's kind of different ones here. The lineage is also a good way to visualize what tables you're using across the board. Oops. Yeah, so once you have your visualization and you're trying to figure out, okay, I'm ready to start creating some dashboards, you just have to click right here on any of these visualizations that you want, and you can add to dashboard. I don't have one ready right here, but what I'm going to do is you can either create a new one, or if you have one existing, you would just add it to it there. In this case, when I add to dashboard, it would show up, and it's actually this same visualization from Data Hunters that populates, right? And on the dashboard itself, right? So you can have multiple different visualizations, different ways to tell your story. There's also ways to add text and kind of share important things that are relevant to the dashboard that the viewer is using, right? So in this case, they kind of segment this out by users, so you can see that it's broken down. Another really good example of just like somebody else is Hildavi, sorry, let's go to Dune. Hildavi, oh, perfect, it's actually right here. Just another example of how somebody like shares, uses text to kind of elaborate a little bit more on their dashboards. Cool, so we go back here. Yeah, so at the end of the day, this is how you build a dashboard. And then you have ways to kind of fork from other dashboards that exist, or run the dashboard again to kind of refresh your data. You can share them pretty easily. And then one last thing that's kind of relevant for folks here is all of this stuff will live in your library, right? So for Story, I've kind of created a separate library for the queries I had. When you create your dashboards, you can add your dashboards there too, which is like and easily access different types of queries or dashboards in here. But if you have a project on Story, one of the things you can do is you need to decode your contract, right? So if you're decoding your contract, just to show you again, you would go to library, click contract, add your contract, select Story, and then let me pull up a contract address. So here we go. This is this contract's already decoded. So in this case, it would actually show you right here. If it's not decoded, what you'll see is it'll populate down here, and you can kind of see the tables that it'll decode and submit that for decoding. But just to show you this example of like how this looks and how you can query some of the contracts on Story or your project is, if you click that, you'll start to see in the similar way when we're looking at queries, the tables that are here, right? So I can pull from any of these and run like a similar, and this should run, give me the query results for what's on basically this query, right? So here we go. And now this is directly pulling from the contracts tables. So all in all, this is kind of how folks use Dune, eventually trying to get to a dashboard that looks something like this. And any questions? Let me just say all this. Has made anything interference equal? Is there a limit to how much we're able to generate? I don't actually remember the limit. Oh, am I muted? Nope. I don't actually remember the limit. Naya, do you know the limit off the top of your head? I don't know if she's here.
I can invite Naya up stage if you'd like, or it might be easier to type in the chat.
Yeah. So I'll get back to you on that. But yeah, she's. I don't think there's a limit on how much you can generate. If there is, it's pretty high, so I wouldn't worry too much. Will all dashboards be on Dune site, and can anyone access them? Good question. So on the free account, you can privatize one dashboard, and I believe it's 10 queries. So you are able to create private dashboards, but it is limited on the free account. Otherwise, everything else will be public.
That being said, of course, if you're submitting in the Buildathon, I would presume your dashboard would need to be publicly available for judging anyway. Yeah. So whether you then make it private at a later time or you enter onto a paid tier is another question. But for the Buildathon, consider that your submission will have to be public. So it shouldn't be, hopefully, too big of a deal.
Yeah. And I know a lot of analysts, like when you're have a work in progress, you kind of have your query that you're writing or whatever, they keep it private until it's done, which is a great way to kind of use that tool to privatize something, then make it public for the judges or whoever's looking at the dashboard.
Nice. Thank you, Rahul, for coming and delivering this session. Hopefully everyone has found it really useful if they're thinking of tackling the Dune challenge in the Buildathon. Now is the time for any last minute questions. Otherwise, that is the final session that we have today. So we will end it there. Apologies at the beginning for the tech difficulties, which we will try to limit for the future, of course. And thank you to both of our speakers for coming in and delivering workshops. As always, the recordings will be available tomorrow or maybe a couple of hours from now. For those of you who joined late and missed the start, then you can catch up with the recording, and all the relevant links will also be on the platform. Otherwise, everyone, have a great rest of your day, and we will see you in the next one.